Welcome to the Law Practice Sale video series. I'm your host, Robert Schaller. This video discusses how a seller can list the seller's law practice for sale. Now, we're assuming for this video that the seller has already registered with the website. If the seller has not already registered for the website, then I urge the seller to watch a different video on how to register. So again, for the purposes of this website, we're assuming that the seller has already registered for the website, but has not yet logged in for this particular transaction. So let's go up here to the upper right-hand corner. It says click to list your law practice for sale. If you click this, you'll be taken to the first step of listing the law practice for sale, but let's look at another way to get there. Under seller info here on the main menu, there's also a link saying list your law practice for sale. Clicking this is the same as clicking the red button, so let's click it. We are now taken to the List Your Law Practice for Sale page. And right away it says unauthorized listings are restricted by a paywall. What that means is that a seller can only list a law practice for sale if they become a member of the website. So unauthorized listings cannot be put on because of this paywall. So a paid membership plan is required. So let's go through the various steps. It says step 1, have to register with a website. So again, for purposes of this video, we're assuming that the seller is already registered for the website. Step 2 would be log in if you've previously registered with the site. Okay, that's what we're going to do in just a second. Then step 3 is after you're logged in, click the Join Paid Membership button below. That's this red button down here. Read warning above, Join Paid Membership Plan. And why is there a warning? Okay, let's look at that. It says important warning. You must register or log in before clicking the Join Paid Membership Plan button below. Otherwise, you'll be double charged. Nobody wants to be double charged, so follow that simple direction. You have to log into the system so that the website knows who you are, and then once logged in, then you join the paid membership plan. So to log in, you can use the red button down here or go back up to the top of the website, this login red button. It goes to the same place. But for convenience, let's use the login button down here. Let's click login. Now let's complete the login for George Washington. So we'll click under username. And as soon as we start typing in George Washington, the system remembers that George Washington is inside the system. So click on that. And on the password, we enter the password. Click login. Now we know we're logged in because we look in the upper right-hand corner. Here's the username, George Washington. And after logging in, we're taken to a page that's called Membership Levels. So remember that a seller must have a membership to be able to list a law practice for sale. And at this time of the video, there's 2 different levels. One is called Standard and one is called Premium. And what is the difference? The Standard is a monthly fee and the Premium is an annual fee. So at the time of the video, the monthly standard fee is $0 for the first month and then $49 per month thereafter. The premium fee is $249. And you can see that's a substantial savings over the monthly payment. So let's click Select. That brings you to the membership checkout page. And the membership checkout page will identify the standard membership level, since that is what we selected. A little description of what is the standard membership plan. And here's the price. The price is $0 now and $49 per month going forward. And now it says, do you have a discount code? Click here to enter your discount code. Well, in this case, we do have a discount code, so let's click it. Now, the code I'm going to enter is just a code for this video and doesn't actually work in the real life, so I'll enter it. And then click Apply. You can see now at the discount code, it has changed. It says the price for membership is $0 now for this month and then $49 per month. After your initial payment, which is 0, your first 2 payments will be 0. So let's scroll down. Now it's asking for the billing information. So what is the billing address? And the system remembers the rest of the information and populates it into the fields because this is the information that George Washington had entered into when registering with the system. So I'll scroll down. It has the phone number, email address. Now it goes to payment information. Enter the fictitious credit card number, expiration date, and the CVC security code. Okay, next it says terms of service, and I agree with the terms of service. So make sure you read the terms of service carefully, and then submit and check out. Now we're taking to the membership confirmation page, saying that we've successfully created the membership, and it gives the invoice number and the account name, the membership level, and the discount code. And remember, the discount code is only for purposes of this demo. It will not work for anyone viewing this video. Scrolling down, here's their billing address, and we're now entered into the system. Now let's go to the top of the page and click the button that says click to list your law practice for sale. When we click that, now we're taken to a page that says list your law practice for sale, and congratulations, you're now logged into the website with a paid membership. Hey, if you had not paid the paid membership, then you would not be able to see this page because it's behind the paywall. But since George Washington has paid and has become a member, they are allowed to list the law practice for sale. So how do you do that? Click this giant red button below that says click to list your law practice for sale. So let's click that. Now here's some directions on how to submit the listing. And I urge you to read all of the directions. But I'm going to speed through this because I've already read it. And it says cost per listing free. So the listing is free for those who have signed up for the paid membership. And the first step is to select a category. So what category or practice area are you listing? So in this particular case, we're going to say George Washington has an estate planning practice for sale. So let's click on the pull-down menu, find estate planning, and there it is. Click on it. As soon as that is done, you notice a red Go button appears. So let's click on the red Go button. Now you're taken to the Submit Your Listing page with more instructions. So you should read them. So let's scroll down. And there are various fields that have to be completed. And notice actually before we get into that, right here it says the category selected, estate planning. If for some reason the user wants to change that to a different category, simply use the red change button right here to the right, and that'll take you back to the previous page where you get to select a different practice area. So we want estate planning though, so let's use it. And the first field is the add title. This is the title that'll show up at the top of the law firm listing page. So you want to be able to be a little creative in identifying the practice area. What would catch the buyer's attention and encourage the buyer to read the remainder of your ad? So let's say, in this case, estate planning offers long-term clients. Okay, and the price is the asking price. Let's say $125,000. And notice you do not put in a $sign. If you do, you'll get an error message. The $sign will automatically be entered by the system. In this case, we're picking a city. Let's say Washington. Let's pick a state. In this case, the District of Columbia. There it is. And the zip code. The primary practice area. And notice at the top, it says select any one of the areas. In this case, it is going to be estate planning. The second is a secondary practice area. Well, in this case, George Washington does not have a secondary. It is simply an estate planning firm, and that's it. But if George Washington had a secondary practice area, then they would include it. You use the pull-down menu, include any one that you want. So in this case, and notice the first one is confidential, if for some reason you want to keep that confidential. But in case it's not applicable, choose the N/A, which is what we're doing here. The next one is the tertiary practice area. Again, George Washington doesn't have that. It is just a single estate planning practice, so we're going to put NA again. So let's scroll down. The next field is the geographical practice area. So identify all the counties in which the law practice has served clients or could serve clients. So in this case, we're going to say Arlington and Richmond counties. The next field is percentage of legal practice involved in litigation. In this case of George Washington, it is 0. The estate planning, he does not do probate work. So notice the choices on the pull-down menu: confidential, none, or various percentages. Okay? In this case, he's going to put down none. The next box is describe the legal practice. And here's where the attorney wants to be creative and come up with something that would be eye-catching for the buyer and describe the legal practice. Explain why the buyer should be interested in buying the seller's legal practice. Identify benefits, possibilities, or anything the seller thinks the buyer should know about the seller's legal practice. Of course, the seller would want to put down something that is descriptive, but also intriguing enough to encourage a prospective buyer to contact the seller for more information. Okay, so let's put this down for George Washington. Okay, let's move down to the next field. It is the number of clients in the client base. So when we hit the pull-down menu, it says confidential. So if the seller wants to keep it confidential, just click that. Or in this case, we're going to put down 501 to 2,000 clients. The next field is number of clients who've been clients for 5 years or more. And we're going to put down 501 to 2,000. Scroll down a little bit. Number of clients that have been served in the last 12 months. So we're going to say between 100 and 250. Okay, the average gross revenue per client that has been served during the last 12 months. So again, you always have the confidential pull down item. In this case, for estate planning, we're going to say the average estate planning for these clients is somewhere between $2,500 and $5,000. The accounts receivable. Okay, identify the approximate accounts receivable balance to be assigned to the seller if the sale closed. So we're going to say that's confidential. We're not going to list that. The next item is the total gross revenues in the most recent calendar year. And we could either say confidential or list the amount, and we're going to say between $250,000 and $500,000. The next item is the total gross revenues in the second most recent calendar year. And again, we always have the confidential option, but we're going to say is also $250,000. And the last one is total gross revenues in the third most recent calendar year. And just to show you a difference, we're going to put down confidential. Let's scroll up. The next is the firm's ownership structure. The pull-down menu, we have confidential, corporate, LLC, and others. We're going to say that this is a professional corporation and click that. Next is the number of lawyers in the law firm with ownership interest. And we can either say confidential, but in this case, George Washington is a sole practitioner, so we're going to put down one. One person has an ownership interest. The next is number of lawyers in the law firm with no ownership interest. Okay, and we're going to look at the pull-down menu. Again, we always have confidential, but we're going to say that George Washington has one associate. The next is the ownership interest being sold. So the pull-down menu says 100% of a sole practice, or could you be just a practice area or a whole law firm? In this case, it's a solo practice. So we're selecting the first, 100% of a solo practice. The next item is the seller's willingness to help buyer during the transition period. So we're going to use the pull-down menu and notice it say none. We just want a clean break at closing. Next would be to be negotiated. Third is available to answer general questions only. And the last is with compensation, help with clients transition to the new law firm. So we're going to say here that is to be negotiated and click that. And the next one is seller's willingness to train the buyer to learn the substantive area of law. A seller could expand the buyer's pool by agreeing to train the buyer how to practice in the practice area being sold. For example, a seller may be willing to train a buyer not experienced in estate planning how to practice in estate planning. They can identify whether the seller is willing to train that buyer. So that's purely up to the seller what they want to do. And let's look at the options. No, yes, and with compensation, training can be provided. In this particular case, George Washington will be able to train, and they want compensation for doing that. So we're going to pick with compensation, training can be provided. Let's scroll up. The next one says, why should a buyer be interested in the seller's legal practice? And that just gives the seller a chance to highlight what is it that is just the essence of the practice. So we're going to say here, Estate planning offers consistent cash flow with a steady stream of clients. Down here, you're able to add an image to your website. The image that is added would appear at the top of the seller's listing page. But there's some things to think about when you're adding an image. Number one is you're limited to 3 images. Number 2, the maximum file size is 500 kilobytes for the image. And number 3 is confidentiality. If the seller wants to remain anonymous, make sure the image does not somehow give away who you are. So you wouldn't want to upload a logo of the firm that identifies the firm by name. That would destroy the anonymity. So think about those ideas when you add an image. Now, if you don't add an image, the system will use a default image, which would be a generic image for that substantive category. Okay, and then in this case, we are not going to add an image. We're going to use the standard default image and click the red Continue button. Now, you go to this page that says Review Your Listing. This simply summarizes everything that we've already put down. So here's the category, the ad title, the price, the city, the state, the zip. Here are the practice areas, the percentage of litigation, describe the practice. Here's just all the different fields and all the answers. The fields on the left, answers on the right. Here are the rules and guidelines, which you should read carefully. And if you like all your answers, then hit Continue. If, however, you want to make a change, just hit the Go Back button and make the appropriate changes. So in this case, we like everything, so we're going to click Continue. And you receive the ad listing received. Thank you. Your ad listing has been submitted and now is live. So click the red button to view your new ad listing. Let's click it. This is what the prospective buyers would see. And here's the title, Enjoy Long-Term Clients with Estate Planning. There's the price. And here is you can see in the image in the background, that's the default estate planning image for that category. And now let's look at the listing page. And here it has all the information on the fields, all the information you entered into those fields. Over to the right, it says exact office location is confidential. So it identifies the city and the state, but not the various street address, so that the prospective buyer wouldn't know who the seller is. Here is a post this ad on your social media. Be careful of confidentiality disclosure. Next is the confidential seller communication portal. Note here it has the username that has been entered into the system. So George Washington is fictitious, so we won't lose confidentiality. But you want to make sure, as I've explained in a different video under confidentiality, don't use a username that identifies who the seller is if you want to remain anonymous. Down here below it says the seller may wish to advertise anonymously. Prospective buyers can email the seller directly for more information by clicking the Contact Owner button below. An email is sent directly to the seller. The system does not keep a copy of the email. It's confidential between the prospective buyer and the seller. Notice this avatar up here. It's a gray-shaped mystery person, so that will maintain confidentiality. If, however, you have your own personal avatar that you created somewhere else on a different website, then beware that this website might port in that picture as your avatar here on this page. And if that is the case, and you want to delete that, you cannot delete the avatar from this website. You have to go to the original website, wherever it is on the web that you created that avatar. And that is explained more in the separate video on confidentiality. So if the prospective buyer is reviewing or perusing your listing and wants to contact you, the prospective buyer simply clicks this Contact Owner button. Scrolling down here, you see the description that the seller has entered. Now, one of the questions that the seller might have is, how would a prospective buyer find this listing? So let's go back to the home page. On the home page, there's a variety of ways to find that listing. First, they could scroll down, and here under the latest listings, you can see here on the left, this would be the one we just listed. So we could click this link right here. So let's do that. That brings the prospective buyer straight to the law practice listing page that we just looked at. And scrolling down, here it is. Okay, what's another way of doing it? Let's go back to the home page. Let's start on the left. What are you looking for? So if you put down estate planning and then click search, prospective buyers will see all the different estate planning ones. And here is the first one. You can see estate planning by George Washington. And if you click on that, you go to the seller's listing page. Let's go back to the home page. Let's use a different way. Under location, they want to put in Washington, DC. So click that. And here comes George Washington the same way. Click on the link and comes to the seller's listing page. Let's go back to the home page. Another way to do it under categories, they would go to estate planning, click on that, hit search, and up come the estate planning listings. And the first one, George Washington. Click on that, and we're back. So those are all the different ways to get to the seller's listing page. Now, this completes the video on how to list a law practice for sale. Thank you for watching the video. Please enjoy the other videos in the Law Practice Sale video series. Please contact us with suggestions and ideas using the contact form on the Contact Us page. Thank you again.